The village of Eziama clung to the banks of the Niger River like a child to its mother's skirt. Red earth pathways wound between huts with roofs of dried reeds, and the air hummed with the chatter of market women and the clang of blacksmith hammers. At the village's edge stood Mama Ngozi's hut. Its mud walls cracked like the lines on an elder's palm. Inside, the widow knelt beside the smoldering fire, her callous hands scraping the last crumbs of cassava bread from a clay pot. Her son, Dike, lay on a threadbare mat, his belly distended from days without food. 2 years had passed since the great drought stole her husband, Emeka, along with her first child, Ngozi. She could still hear his laughter echoing through the fields as he taught Dike to plant yams. Now the fields were dust, and her hands, once skilled at braiding hair, now clawed at the earth for scraps. She had sold her brass bangles, her goats, even her indigo wedding wrapper, all to keep Dike alive. The cassava bread in her palm, hard and brittle, was her final offering to the gods of mercy. Outside, thunder rolled, and rain lashed the hut, dripping through the roof into clay bowls placed like sentinels around the room. A knock rattled the door, a frail rhythmic tap. Mama Ngozi opened it to find a boy drenched in rain, his ribs protruding like the bars of a cage. His eyes, wide and hollow, mirrored the hunger she saw in Dike's face each night. "Please, food," he whispered, voice cracking. Mama Ngozi's heart clenched. She glanced at Dike, whose breath came in shallow gasps. To give the bread was to risk her son's life. But the boy's trembling lips parted in a silent plea, and she saw Emeka's spirit in his sunken cheeks. Without a word, she broke the bread in two and handed him the larger piece. The boy devoured it, tears mingling with rainwater. "Thank you, Mama," he rasped, before vanishing into the storm. That night, Dike woke crying. Mama Ngozi rocked him, humming a lullaby Emeka had sung when the rains were plentiful. "The ancestors will provide," she murmured, though her faith wavered like the dying fire. The boy's name was Jato, though he had forgotten the sound of it on anyone's lips. He was a ghost drifting between villages, a relic of the northern wars. His mother, Aisha, had hidden him in a grain sack when soldiers touched their home. For weeks, he had wandered south, chewing bitter roots and sipping from mud puddles until his feet bled and his mind blurred with fever. Mama Ngozi's cassava bread had been his first taste of hope. That night, he curled beneath a mango tree, its gnarled roots cradling him like bony fingers. Around his neck hung a leather pouch, its seams frayed but still guarding his mother's final gifts. A silver coin stamped with a lion's head and a bundle of uziza leaves, brittle as old bones. "Use this for good," Aisha had gasped, her blood staining his tunic as soldier spears pierced her chest. Jato pressed the pouch to his heart, vowing, "I will repay her. I will." At dawn, he crept back to Mama Ngozi's hut. Through a crack in the wall, he watched her grind wild berries into paste, her fingers trembling. Dike coughed weakly, his small frame shuddering. Guilt clawed at Jato's throat. I took his food, but fear pinned him in place. As he foraged in the forest, digging up yam tubers gnawed by rats and gathered snails clinging to damp rocks, he left them at Mama Ngozi's door, darting into the shadows when she emerged. She knelt in the dirt, whispering thanks to the spirits, and Jato's chest swelled with a warmth he had thought lost. Days blurred into weeks. Jato slept in abandoned huts and filched eggs from market stalls. One afternoon, he found a goat trapped in a hunter's snare, its leg oozing pus. Remembering his mother's herbs, he crushed uziza leaves into a poultice and pressed it to the wound. By dusk, the goat stood, nuzzling his hand. The goat belonged to Chief Obi, a man whose frown could silence the wind. When the chief discovered Jato's skill, he tossed him a copper coin. "Heal my son's fever," he commanded, "and you will eat like a king." Jato's hands shook as he accepted the coin. That night, he placed it at Mama Ngozi's threshold, his pulse racing. Will she know it's me? The copper coin bought millet, salt, and a scrap of dried fish. For the first time in months, Dike's belly swelled with fullness, but the villagers' whispers sharpened like knives. Foolish woman, hissed the Maka, the potter at the well. You fed a thief while your son starved. The gods will surely curse us all. Mama Ngozi tightened her grip on the water jar. The boy was hungry, she said, her voice steady, but her knuckles white. Amaka sneered. Hungry? He's a curse. My yams vanished last week. Mark my words, he will bring the soldiers here. But Jato lingered. He healed mangy dogs and mended broken holes, fleeing when children heard stones. Shame trailed him like a shadow. One moonless night, Mama Ngozi found him crouched by a fire pit, shivering. You, she whispered. Jato froze, eyes wide. I brought this. He held out a basket of wild onions and mushrooms, their earthy scent mingling with wood smoke. Why? She asked, sharper than intended. Because you were kind. His voice broke. No one else has been. Mama Ngozi's anger melted. She gestured to a stool. Sit. Over a shared bowl of pepper soup, Jato confessed his name and his shattered past. Mama Ngozi listened, her heart aching. Stay, she urged. Dike needs a brother. Jato shook his head. The villagers hate me. I won't bring you more trouble, please. At dawn, he vanished, leaving only footprints in the dew. The rains came fiercely that year, turning the red earth of Eziama into rivers of mud. Jato, now 15, had grown lean and tall, his hands callous from grinding herbs and his eyes sharp from years of watching the horizon. He spent his days healing the sick. Villagers who once scorned him now whispered his name with reverence. Yet he avoided the marketplace, where traders from the north peddled spices and stories of war. One evening, as Jato tended to a child snake bite, drums echoed in the distance, a rhythm too urgent for a festival. Mama Ngozi hurried into the hut, her face ashen. Soldiers, she said, rebel soldiers. They are camped at the river. Dike, now 12, peered through the hut's cracked door. Are they here for us? Jato's hand stilled. He touched the leather pouch at his neck, the silver coin inside burning like a secret. They are here for me, he thought. Days later, a band of rebels stormed the village, their faces scarred, their spears tipped with iron. They demanded food, clothes, and boys old enough to fight. Chief Obi bargained weakly, offering yams and beads, but their leader, a towering man with a missing ear, shoved him aside. We seek a boy, he growled, a northern prince. His traitor father's bloodline ends with him. Jato, hiding in the crowd, froze. The rebels' leader held up a silver coin identical to his own. This symbol, he barked, pointing to the lion's head stamped on it. Whoever carries it dies. That night, Jato fled to the forest, his mind racing. Mama Ngozi found him at dawn, crouched by the Iroko tree. Tell me the truth, she said softly. Trembling, Jato opened his pouch. The coin glinted in the sunlight. My father was Chief Boko of the Northern Plains. The rebels killed him and my mother. She gave me this coin to prove my lineage. They want me dead to erase his legacy. Mama Ngozi studied the coin, then cupped his face. You are not a curse, Jato. You are a seed of kings. But if I stay, they will destroy the village to find me, he said, voice breaking. Then we fight, Dike declared, emerging from the bushes. He held a machete, his small frame trembling but resolute. You are my brother. Mama Ngozi nodded. The ancestors did not spare your life for you to run. We will hide the coin and outwit them. But as they returned to the hut, shadows shifted in the trees. The one-eared rebel stood watching, a knife in his hand. The one-eared rebel lunged, his knife glinting like a serpent's fang. Jato shoved Dike aside, but Mama Ngozi stepped forward, her voice a thunderclap. You will not harm them. The rebel froze, startled by the fire in her eyes. Behind him, a younger rebel emerged, a wiry man with a scarred cheek and familiar green beads around his wrists. Jato's breath hitched. Those beads. Enough, Bakari, the scarred rebel said, gripping the one-eared man's arm. We are here for the prince, not to slaughter peasants. Bakari spat. Since when do you defend traitors, Anas? Anna's gaze flicked to Jato's leather pouch. The boy bears the lion mark. Chief Boko's blood runs in him. Kill him, and the northern clans will rise against us. Jato's mind raced. Anas? The name echoed in his memory. A guard who once smuggled him candied figs in the palace gardens. His mother had called Anas, the quiet one with his lion's heart. Bakari snarled. The clans are scattered. Now is our chance to. A cry pierced the air. Dike, forgotten in the chaos, had sliced his palm with the machete. Blood dripped onto the roots of the iroko tree, and the earth shuddered. A vine shot up, coiling around Bakari's ankle and yanking him to the ground. Witchcraft! Bakari screamed, clawing at the soil. Anna stared at Dike, whose bloodied hand glowed faintly. The boy, he has the Kasa gift, he whispered, invoking the old word for earth magic. Mama Ngozi pulled Dike close, her voice steady. Leave now, or this forest will swallow you whole. Anas dragged Bakari back, his eyes locked on Jato. The rebels will return with fire. If you are truly Boko's son, prove it. Reclaim your throne or die a coward. As the rebels retreated, Jato collapsed against the iroko, his hands trembling. Dike's scot had already healed, leaving only a pale scar. How did you? I don't know, Dike stammered. The earth spoke to me. Mama Ngozi knelt, pressing her forehead to the ground. The ancestors have awakened. Your father's spirit is in this soil, Dike. That night, Jato revealed the full truth. His father's murder, the rebels' coup, and the prophecy that a lion-hearted prince would return to restore peace. Anas was right, he said. If I don't face them, they will burn every village between here and the north. Dike gripped his arm. Then we go together. Mama Ngozi nodded. But first, we prepare. She opened a clay jar buried beneath the hut, a stash of Uziza herbs, Emeka's hunting bow, and a map drawn on antelope hide. As the moon rose, Jato traced the lion symbol on his coin. A prince or a healer, he no longer knew. The rebels returned at dawn, their torches staining the sky bloody. Flames devoured huts, and smoke choked the air as villagers fled into the forest. Mama Ngozi herded children towards the river, her voice hoarse from shouting. To the caves! Hurry! Jato and Dike stood at the village square, their backs pressed against the ancient iroko. Bakari led the charge, his one ear twitching as he roared, Bring me the prince's head! Dike's hands trembled. The scar on his palm pulsed, and the earth beneath him groaned. I can't stop them, he whispered. No, Jato grabbed his arms. You don't know what it will cost you. But Dike knelt, pressing his bloody palm to the soil. Vines erupted like serpents, snatching rebels mid-stride and dragging them into the earth. Trees bent like bows, hurling stones at the attackers. Dike's eyes glowed amber, his skin crackling like dry clay. He's killing himself, Mama Ngozi screamed, fighting her way towards him. A rebel's arrow grazed Jato's shoulder as he lunged for Dike. Before he could reach him, a figure cloaked in crow feathers stepped into the chaos. The stranger chanted in a language older than the river, and the wind stilled. With a flick of her wrist, the vines retreated, and Dike collapsed, his glow fading. The rebels froze, eyes wide with terror. A dibia? Bakari hissed, invoking the word for witch doctor. Retreat! Retreat! As the rebels fled, the healer knelt beside Dike. Her voice was a tapestry of scars, her eyes milky yet piercing. The earth does not give without taking, she said, pressing a bitter leaf to Dike's lips. You borrowed its power, now it will borrow your strength. Dike coughed, his voice shrill. Who are you? I'm Jarabi, last Dibia of the northern clans. I knew your father, Jato. She turned to him. holding up a matching silver coin. And I know why the rebels fear you. Jato stiffened. You served my father? I served the truth, Jarabi said. Your father was murdered not just for his throne, but for what he guarded. She unrolled a scroll from her cloak, revealing a map to a hidden cave marked with the lion symbol. Here lies the Oku stone, the heart of the northern lands. It answers only to Boko's blood. Control it and you control the clans. Mama Ngozi's cradled Dike's head. Can you heal him? Jarabi's gaze darkened. The earth's price is a life for a life. To save him, another must take his place. Silence fell. Jato stared at the map, then at Dike's ashen face. Take me to the stone. The Oku stone pulsed like a heartbeat in the cavern's gloom, its surface etched with symbols older than time. Jato stood before it, Jarabi's words ringing in his ears. Only Boko's blood can awaken its power. He pressed his palm to the stone, the lion coin burning in his grip. Visions flooded his mind, his father kneeling at this very spot, not as a warrior but as a healer, channeling the stone's energy to mend blighted crops and broker peace. The stone is not a weapon, his father's voice echoed. It is a bridge between life and land. Use it to grow, not to conquer. Outside, rebel drums thundered. Bakari's army surrounded the cave, their torches flickering like vengeful spirits. Jato closed his eyes. Instead of summoning fire, he let the stone's warmth seep into the earth. Vines burst from the soil, disarming rebels and weaving their spears into cages. Trees bent to shield the village, their roots cradling homes like a mother's arms. Witchcraft, Bakari screamed, but his men faltered, awed by the blossoming fields and healed scars on their own skin. Anna stepped forward, green beads clattering. The prince heals, he shouted. Is this the demon you feared? One by one, rebels dropped their weapons. Bakari lunged at Jato, but Dike emerged from the crowd, his hands glowing. The earth split, swallowing Bakari whole. The land judges its own, Dike said, his voice resonant with ancestral power. Years later, the northern plains flourished. Villagers spoke of Prince Jato, who wore a healer's herbs beside his crown, and Dike, the Dibia whose magic fed 1,000 fields. Mama Ngozi lived to see her hut become a school where children learned that kindness is the first medicine. On the day she passed, the village mourned under a sky streaked with sunset gold. Jato and Dike buried her beneath the Iroko tree, its branches heavy with ripe fruit. She was the roots, Jato said, placing cassava bread on her grave. We are the branches. Dike opened a clinic nearby, its doors marked with the lion and the uziza leaf. Travelers asked, why feed strangers? He'd smile, handing them bread, because a crumb can grow a forest. When Jato's own son placed the coin in a beggar's hand, he whispered the tale of the widow who chose love over fear. Dear listener, one selfless act can rewrite destiny. Kindness is the seed, courage is the water, and hope is the sun that grows forests from ashes. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories like this.